Welcome to the Positive Productivity Podcast, episode 274. The Positive Productivity Podcast was created to empower entrepreneurs to achieve and appreciate personal and professional success. I'm your host, Kim Sutton, and if you're ready, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of Positive Productivity. This is your host, Kim Sutton, and I am so happy that you are here to join us today. I am also thrilled to introduce our guest, Izabela Lundberg. Izabela is the CEO and founder of Legacy Leaders Academy. Welcome, Izabela.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to have you here, and I would love if you would share a bigger and better introduction because I know what I did for you did not even do you justice. So would you mind sharing a little bit of your background, more of your background with the listeners?
Sure, Kim. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show, and I'm super thrilled that we had a finally chance to do this together. In terms of my background, I just started all from, traveling the world and being exposed to so many different cultures and countries, and then bringing everything together by living in the United States, right? And really feeling in that country and land of opportunities where I felt like I have a blank canvas to do whatever I wanted to do. So with a lot of experimentation, and as you know, nobody's perfect, right? And a lot of trials and errors, I was able actually to collect great acumen of working with Fortune 500 companies, professional coaches and athletes, as well as very innovative small businesses that truly wanted to make an impact and difference on a large scale.
Where are you from originally, Izabela?
I grew up in former Yugoslavia. I was born in Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I had a chance to live with two major cultures that is now separate two countries, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia. And my background is, my ethnicity is Croatian. If you're familiar at all with the Balkan War and conflicts that occurred there, I was, as a result of what occurred during the era in late 90s, early 90s, as a teenager, became very quickly refugee and immigrant and entrepreneur and coach and trainer and interpreter and so many other roles as a result of that one particular event changed my life forever.
Yeah, I am familiar. And this is going to date me, but I was going through high school around that time. So it was very much a topic especially in our global studies classes. And even one of my friends actually had an exchange student from Croatia. And so we heard a lot about what was going on in the trials and tribulations and just all I don't want to say drama because that doesn't even begin to express. I can't even imagine being a refugee. Where have your travels taken you and what have been your favorite places to visit?
Obviously, I had a journey where I was, as a young woman, barely 19 at the time. I've lived on my own in 5 different countries. My journey started from Austria, Germany, Sweden, obviously, then United States. But then when I established myself, I found my new home in Denver, Colorado. And from there, I was really able to explore this beautiful country that we're part of, traveling to 44 states and over 40 countries worldwide, which really gave me so much perspective, what is going on, not only economically, politically, but also to really see what is happening around the world with people, right? Where their interests are, where their passions are, and how these different cultures really create most amazing either innovative ideas, but also elements that really make us kind of look at and deflect, It's like, oh, well, look at what they're doing versus what we could do, and then kind of depict what works best for you, right? So when you ask me the question, where was the most amazing opportunity or what did I like the best, it's really hard to answer in very single one-prong approach because there's just so much to it, right? But some places that I would love to go back for sure are New Zealand and some of the islands between Australia and New Zealand. I obviously love Asia, but where I find the most intriguing, obviously, are some of the areas also, believe it or not, in North America.
I love how you mentioned, number one, how beautiful the country is. And number two, how much you learn just by looking at other cultures and countries, especially in light of what is going on in America right now. And I never want to date, so I'm not going to date when we're recording this. And listeners, I would say don't even look at the date of when it's released. But no matter where we are and when it is, there's always something to look at as beauty and marvelous about wherever we are. And I was watching a TED Talk recently that was looking at the different economic statuses of people in different countries, lower class, middle class, upper class, and how no matter where people were in different countries, upper class in, let's just say, well, not China, but I'm just trying to think of upper classes could be something completely different from what upper class in America is. And that just made me feel so blessed. I'm not upper class, but no matter what we're going through, there's always something that we can look at and feel extremely grateful for.
Absolutely, Kim. And what is so beautiful is if we look at the things that really differentiate us, we'll always see things that are different, right? And then also ultimately separate us. But we also look at from different perspective of things that, as I always say, common language of a nonverbal, that smile, the heartfelt hug, those things that connect us and to make us human and really show the different tapestry of humanity. Because I also had a privilege to work with people from over 80 countries worldwide and learn firsthand about their traditions, beliefs, different approaches to things. That I have to say, that was the most priceless life experience. And I always joke, right, for everything else MasterCard. But for that priceless experience, I came with a value on it because really changed and deepened so many things within myself and with my work, with the approaches that I do in everything I touch. So as a result, I found that to be wealthiest in skill and knowledge and awareness because I allowed that, right? And I think if we do that from wherever we sit, we'll be much more richer from that depth of that human connection, which I think deeply down, ultimately, everybody's seeking and looking for.
Oh, without a doubt. I agree with everything that you just said. Would you mind sharing more about Legacy Leaders Academy and what you do?
Well, absolutely. I started in Europe as an educator, and when I came to US, I got additional undergrad based on my experience in global business management. And what happens is initially when I was teaching and working with kids, I quickly realized kids are going home, and you can relate to that because you're the mother of beautiful children. And now that sometimes they drive you crazy, but they're curious, they're energetic, they're learning, they're supporting one another. And it's so great to grow up in this health environment with siblings, right? That is what I used to have. And everything absolutely changed in a second. And then looking at these different dynamics with the children, I realized how much these kids are going back in environments and they're not necessarily the healthiest one. And whatever as an educator will try to do will kind of undo to some extent because I saw a lot of different parenting styles and kids really being in turmoil and different behavioral patterns, right? Then I realized when I came to US and started working in corporate America and then also with entrepreneurs in parallel, I recognized very quickly how much actually more impact I can have teaching and educating and working and coaching and training with adults, which in some ways I'm sure you can relate to because you do that as well.
Absolutely.
And then reason, Kim, why I got to this conclusion, whatever we do on adult level and within us to learn, right, and share the skill and knowledge, that adult will take it everywhere they go. Either it's their work, either it's their home, either it's their classroom where they will have an impact on others. And I think it's extremely essential to really look at how that echoes and disseminates even that one aha moment or one thing that they will have an epiphany to be better and be greater. So now to circle back, how this Legacy Leaders Academy came about, I realized that so many adults really wanted to live meaningful life beyond the paycheck, the title, the status, the position, the house, or whatever it is for some people, right? Or money, or the car, or beautiful wife, or kids. When we look at all of that, how we measure accomplishments and status, and I love what you said, that middle class or upper class have a completely different values and meaning depending upon which culture you're in. So I realized that many of them really want to work on their legacy of something that is so meaningful and impactful now, not when they pass away, not when it's going to be recognized hundreds of years later, but absolutely now. And then Legacy Leaders Academy came in as a great way to bring legacy leaders to help one another, to truly do things that matter, that can make an impact on others. So one of my slogan is leave a legacy that matters, because so many things we do, it's so easy to get wrapped up in, but on the end of the day, do they really matter? And to who they matter to?
Izabela, say that one more time. Not the whole thing, the motto, because it was so beautiful, but I can't repeat it unless you repeat it one more time.
Sure, absolutely.
Leave a legacy that matters. Did I just mess that all up?
No, you didn't. Leave a legacy that matters, and then be the legend in your legendary way.
That is so extremely beautiful. And I have to share with you and the listeners, it took more than 35 years. That's my best guess. More than 35 years to realize that what mattered most in my life was not how much money I had, because I was living every day prior to that thinking everything will be better when, or I'll be happy when, or will be great when. And then I went through my own journey and realized everything is great now. So how can I share this with the world? And it was like the light bulb came on. Yes, my house is a mess and my kids are crazy and I have way too animals. By the way, I have cats up for adoption if any listeners want some. But it's a blessed life because we have everything that we need, and anything that we don't have, we probably don't need anyway.
That is so beautiful, Kim. And it's amazing that we really live life by our own design and by our own meaning, by our own purpose, and by our own values, right? Because what I remember when I came to US with traditions and beliefs and different upbringing that I have been exposed, but then also the other, countries in Europe, I looked at what is typical approach here in US, and everything was like, okay, elementary school, then high school, then college, then marriage, then house, then car, then husband, then kids. And everything was kind of like a blueprint, but the blueprint that worked maybe hundreds of years ago or 50 years ago, or maybe that works still for so many people, but wasn't necessarily my blueprint. I did not resonate with that. So to me, life was disrupted, not because of my willing, right? So now I have to look at what I can do and pick up the pieces based on what I am in control of. And things don't get in all that order, and it's great and it's okay. And then just living in a moment and have that works again for you and your family without stressing about things that truly do not matter because we believed that is the way to be. That's where really we disconnect from truly who we are, what we're meant to do, and then from our own internal happiness.
Oh, absolutely. Izabela, what did you want to be when you were a little girl?
See, I had a dream. I had a dream to be Olympian more than anything in the world. But I was a little tall, skinny girl, petite, a little girl, but really shy. And then I grew in this skinny little kid that my father used to call me from affection point, Olive Oil, from cartoon, because I was just like still skinny, twiggy girl that a lot of guys or boys will say, you will never be anything, because for them, being an athlete was all about men dominating the industry, and being Olympian was for the best of the best. And I realized very quickly how little was invested in sports for men versus women. And it was amazing to also very quickly depict that even though I wanted to do that, my dream may not realize because of the environment I was in. But then I found other avenues how I can live what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be educator. The main reason why I wanted to change influence of those kids at that time to believe that they can be anything they wanted to be. And if I maybe try harder or had more supporters, maybe my dream would actualize. But regardless of that, I never left the dream far away. I've always been fascinated by Olympics, and I realized why. Because that's the only way, in my mind, sporting events of the best around the world come together so that we can really root and support, but also show all these beautiful nations and their representatives of wide range of sports to show us what they're capable of. And that's, to me, it's still the dream that lives every 2 years from winter to Olympics, to Summer Olympic Games.
I did not realize, and now I am dating it. Darn it. Now I have to go back and redo what I just said. But I did not realize that we're actually in an Olympic year. So I'm actually very excited because there aren't very many things that I watch on television. But I had no idea until just a couple days ago that we are within a few weeks of the Winter Olympics for 2018.
Absolutely. And they're happening in South Korea. And when you also think about it, as you mentioned earlier, how politics, economies, and different things affecting how we think, how we act, what we do, right? How we consume information. This is going to be really significant on so many levels, and hopefully will bring world together and show again what is truly always intended with those Olympics from centuries ago, to really feature again athletes and their capacity to show their strength. And yes, that reflects on physical, but what I also learned came from working with professional coaches and athletes in elite sports, how important it is, obviously, that mindset and will and drive and passion and that internal mental game, from mental and emotional capacity to really deal with the fear factors and everything that really slow us down or kill our dreams or never let us to try or never allowed us to really go places or do something that we always desired to do.
Absolutely. We can let our circumstances define us, or we can overcome them. And by overcoming, we can be the best of the best.
Very, very true.
I would love to go back, if you don't mind, because it's so important to me that listeners understand that we can overcome any circumstances. So, and listeners, you know that none of these chats are ever pre-rehearsed, pre-scripted. To be totally honest, I have no idea where they're going to go ever. What did your journey as a refugee look like? Did you have to leave in the middle of the night with nothing? Because you in yourself have overcome and become such a success story. I mean, I'm not saying that where you were before was not a success story, but people often want to be stuck in the circumstances and think that it's never going to get better. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about what that journey looked like for you?
Sure, it's very true. And one of the things I have to say, I was blessed to have a most amazing father and also great, great mentor, my grandma. And they gave me amazing foundation that really helped me to navigate and deal with the most awful, unspeakable events. I have to really make a very hard decision. And I share parts of that story in my book, The World Messenger, from fear to greatness. And the reason why I did this, not only I overcame healing, obviously, and everything else, but people insisted, Isabel, it's important for people to have opportunity to know so that they can navigate and put things in perspective, what they're dealing with. It's maybe not as challenging or difficult as they may think. But I also leverage professional coaches and athletes that I interview from 6 continents, as well as business leaders, to really kind of show parallel. And why I'm bringing this up, because so many of us endured so much. And in my experience, when you have to make a decision, are you going to spread propaganda news to save your dad, or you have to let your dad go and go through family values and let him die in peace, the way and respect his wish, was the most challenging epiphany in my life. And I, again, was very, very young at the time. And again, the strength, the belief, the love, unconditional love that he had towards me, and not willingness to jeopardize who I am and what I'm about, really became my mantra through everything I had to endure. When you think about it, I lived in 5 countries. English is my 6th language. I had to learn language, the culture, adopt, adjust with no parents. And on top of it, I also had my diabetic sister as my dad's big task. When he said, Isabella, I know you can't save me, and I don't want you to save me. I want to die here. But I want you to save your sister. He knew that he needed to give me amazing big goal that will preoccupy me and not make me be self-distracted, but more to really push for something that at that time I also felt it's mission impossible. But then again, I had to face fears and think every second with strategy, with different ways and approaches, how I'm going to make that happen. And it wasn't easy, but the journey was, needless to say, full of true danger, not just perceived fear. And on top of it, the fear that I will not be able to fulfill the promise. And more than anything, I wanted to do that. So I will share just the ending. End up, yes, I saved my sister, and she is thriving in Sweden and being an amazing leader. She changed her degree and became head nurse and nurse that specializes in curing diabetes, and helps so many diabetics and in clinics in Sweden, and being such a valuable voice of what it means to help others, right? But in the same time, I felt, I can't explain to you, Kim, the level of magnitude and gratitude to know that I fulfilled what I said I will do, and I found a way. And I've had to face all those fears on that journey. And as a result, made me way stronger and helped me out then to face all the other fears and challenges I encountered since then, specifically in the country that we live in, and everything that is so changing radically on a daily basis.
You have just blown my mind, because it's one thing to be taking care of yourself with, and I'm not saying that you have no health conditions that had to be addressed, but it's one thing if we're a healthy being with no significant health issues that need to be addressed and we are running for our lives. But it's another to be taking care of somebody else. Number one, I mean, I can't imagine running with even one of my children. I would do it. I would do it because that's where my heart is, and because I love them dearly, and I will do anything to protect my children. But I don't even have a diabetic child to handle, and I can't imagine just the fear of, where am I going to get more insulin? How am I going to take care of making sure that blood sugar is taken care of? And I don't mean to bring humor into this conversation, but my son and I have been watching The Walking Dead, and that has come up in my mind before because my sister is a diabetic. And I've often thought about, what would they do? There's a baby that's born in the show. What do you do if the mother's not around? How do you get what you need? And when there's a will, there's a way for anything in our life.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether to say congratulations, or congratulations isn't the right word by far, but great job. And that's not even just, you're blowing my mind. So thank you. That was so weak, but I just, you've left me speechless, obviously, because now I'm all tongue tied. And listeners, you've heard me have brain farts before. That's actually where I am right now. I just don't know how to word it properly.
It's okay. You're doing great, Kim. And what I really wanted to share, that I am not Super Wonder Woman and have more than anybody else capacity to either love or overcome or face fears. But I definitely had a way more fair shares of those fears and issues that I knew if I will just accept, I didn't want to be statistics of refugees that we see are shared around the world, what that looks like, feels like, what it is. And majority of people never knew that I came actually in this country as a refugee. They never even think about it because they cannot fathom that also somebody can be a refugee that is educated, that is accomplished, that is strong, that is all these things that they just cannot see the other side of the coin of it. And that is also a great conversation and opportunity to dispel some of those myths, but also the fears that others are facing, that politically right now, from right or wrong reasons, everybody are here to take away something from someone, or that we're all terrorists, or that we're all whatever. Because at the end of the day, I have to say, nobody choose ever. I did not meet one single one refugee in this planet Earth, either from a war-torn country or due to environmental issues that they have to relocate and move and seek and start their life from scratch, that volunteered and said, this is what I chose and this is what I want it to be. And I never really accepted that labeling, and I never let that labeling define me. And that's where I'm at, where I'm today.
Izabela, I actually just went and did a quick search for what all the definitions are for refugee, because it occurred to me that we can be refugees from our own circumstances. But unfortunately, Merriam-Webster dictionary didn't really support my idea necessarily. But I think that we can be always running from war in our own personal lives and in our own upbringing. And just like you were just saying, we can stay and we can follow the herds, or we can make something better.
Absolutely.
So take us deeper into legacy leaders. Could you share something more specific about what you do?
Sure. I obviously I work for Fortune 500 companies as an executive coach and consultant, and a lot of times as advisory, right? And I help with innovative approaches of technology and change and transformation. But what I also realize, I also help internal on the talent and team level, and helping teams to be more effective. And I know this sounds very corporate-ish, but then when you look at deep down, what I do is help people to really get their back passion, their why, so that they can be the most effective they can be. And then to actualize their greatness. I usually, and this is what I'm saying, everything that we want is on the other side of the fear, right? But then how do we actualize? And a lot of times environments that we're in, either working or living environments, sometimes both, don't give us proper foundation to make things happen. So I do I have a curricula that I help and train individuals who wanted to actualize their potential by really tapping into passion, that really wanted to make a difference. For me, everything is understanding somebody's motivation, why somebody wants to do something. When people just say, I want to be influencer, okay, why? So what do you want to influence and how do you want to influence? Or if people say, I really want to make sure that I am on the right path and develop my leadership skills. Again, why? So that ultimately everything leads to that deeper meaning and self-actualization through the passion and true, genuine interest, so that they can be more effective in what they're trying to do. So I have situations when I work with executive privately who wants to be better leader and lead his team and really create a more innovative approaches in what they're doing in healthcare space, which is amazing. And I know they're going to impact hundreds and thousands and millions of people. But the question is, again, how do you navigate different personalities? How do you work effectively with those teams? Do you have a right team, right? You know more than anybody, Kim, how important it is to know to have a right group of individuals to share the vision. And that doesn't always happen, even with a lot of coaching and training. And definitely not many of individuals have the natural capacity. So from legacy leaders' perspective, it is opportunity to really understand of anything that we want to do. Like you're creating amazing content, Kim. You're already raising the bar for women, what's possible as a mother, as so many things that defines who you are, right? You're already living legacy, not what you're going to leave, but what you're living at every single day and actualizing it. So that's kind of the way I work, depending of scenarios. And sometimes they're not necessarily as robust, sometimes very specific, but ultimately accumulated steps to something that maybe you never even thought yourself you can actualize and make it happen, or what this process will lead you to, or where will take you next, right? And then also obviously opportunities to connect with serial entrepreneurs and leaders and decision makers, and be able to unify and make things faster, greater, and how do we can then be involved in large projects, either from humanitarian efforts that I do, either is solely from merger and acquisitions and making companies better, stronger as a result of, what market is requiring. but through that lens of leadership and the lens of legacy. Is this something that matters, or is it just pure profit? Is it something that's going to create an impact, but impact that's going to really better others, or just yourself?
What do you see as being some of the biggest challenges with your clients?
The biggest challenges with the clients is that they are in different stages of life and they really lose track of priorities and they lose track of their own why. But beside that, fear factor. And again, I interviewed people from 6 continents that face fear on a daily basis. And when I did, I really became very attuned what the fears we are having right now. And believe Kim, I'm just going to share top 5. But of course, the number one everybody's kind of dancing around is a failure or not. And what I found actually is a fear of rejection. We're in a society right now that we're so petrified to do any move of anything. I mean, not, it's like, because if we don't really face the fear of rejection, and that is okay to be rejected and receive the no, and it's not that sentence, just the way we're programmed and trained. And for a lot of people creates so much emotional distress that they rather will not try anything. And as a result, the fear of failure is the second one because it's kind of dance between those two. So when you break from both of those, it's amazing what can happen. Unless you ask, unless you seek out, unless you dare, obviously nothing gonna move, or it will be moving in very small increments. And then, of course, fear unknown, because we want to know everything, how it's gonna unfold. If I do this, if am I gonna get that? Just the speed of how we consume information and where we're headed and what we're trying to do, it just really shows that with all information that's on our fingertips, we want to know for certain that this is going to pan out the way we want it. And that creates a lot of friction. And by being not allowing and just wanted to know everything and sometimes forcing everything, right? That unknown, it's not any more than what naturally possibly could happen. When you already have preconceived notion, when you already have sense of how something should go, does not allow you to be anything else than in that very confined, sterile space.
Izabela, if you had access to a time machine or a crystal ball that could show you your future, would you use them?
I feel like I am building stuff with intention that I already know where I'm going, that I don't have to know what crystal ball is validated or not, because everything that I'm being validated so far, it's just showing that I'm on the right track where I needed to be. So to me, I can't explain that, because when you live and survive, and I have to say, my life was so many times in dangers that at least 10 major instances was a life and death situation for me, and I'm still alive. So it is a bigger reason why I'm obviously here, and I strongly believe in that. I'm not taking that lightly. So I just know that it is a bigger journey for me to be accomplished, and I know also that I'm on that track, because I get validation through so many avenues almost on a daily basis.
I need to share, my oldest son was not planned. Actually, now that I think about it, none of my children were planned. And, I think of the movie Back to the Future, where Biff gets he gets a hold of the DeLorean, and he goes back and he gets the book, and then he majorly alters the path of the future. And while none of my children were planned, and there have been a lot of struggles, I'm not saying it was because of the children, but just a lot of struggles that happened over the course of those 16 years, I would never want to go back and change that, because if I did, I wouldn't be here right now. And I would be chasing income still, trying to get to the top of the corporate ladder in the field of interior design and architecture. And I wouldn't have known that there was anything outside of that. So I love that you said that. And I don't know where I'm going. I know where I want to go. And I guess I need to change that mindset. I do know where I'm going when I see, listeners, you got to take out those ifs. When I keep on working and taking, even if they're just baby steps daily, when I keep on taking them. But I wouldn't want to change that for the world, because everything that I've experienced so far and everything that you've experienced so far has brought you to where you are today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I look back, as you said, It's a reason, and sometimes we don't understand what is the reason, because when we're in the pain, when we're into all that turmoil, when we're in conflict, when we're feeling like we're not either enough or we can't do it by ourselves or whatever. But when you look at all of that back 10, 15, 20 years ago, you really then see the stepping stones that make you who you are today and prepare you who you're going to be tomorrow. And as you said, changing and altering will not give you the path, but also will not give you the outcome. And some of those outcomes, right? We celebrate, we want it, we're happy about it. And then amazing things are yet to unfold, right? And I really strongly believe that we're yet to see some most amazing things that we're producing as a result, not just only on mindset, but will and desire, right? To do this and add this extra work and extracurricular to help others like you doing with this podcast to impact female listeners around the world and make a big difference in their lives on personal and professional level, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I've just recently shared, as of the time of this recording, I had just recently shared that I was trying to read one book at a time in 2018. But thanks to one of my mentors, cough, cough, Cliff Ravenscraft, I started reading The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks last night. Have you read that?
No, I did not that yet.
It is, the subtitle is Conquer Your Hidden Fear and Take Life to the Next Level. And one of the questions that he starts with right now is basically, and I can't remember because the book is not right in front of me, so I can't remember exactly, but are you ready to live a life where you are happy every day?
So deep.
And to me, that was just a wow. Like, am I ready? Because I have seen, and he shares in the book, how so many people, they have something amazing going for them, but then they self-sabotage themselves because they're just not used to having such an amazing life. So many of us will do something just because we're not used to that constant happiness.
It's true, because every time in the past, right, when I was there, when I look at everything that I loved was taken away from me, or everything that I identify with was perished. And then whatever I accomplish, I would feel like, oh my God, yeah, I have this now, but what if something again happens again? And when it happens too many times, that's where the really, truly reprogramming has to happen, so that you can really allow other circumstances to enter in your life. And happiness is internal work, and took me years to figure out how true that is and how actualize that within myself. No matter what, no matter rejections, no matter what's happening externally, and just to smile and be giggly and be the kid that I was with this big, huge, wondering eyes, skipping as a 6-year-old. I still skip on the streets, Kim. And the reason I'm bringing this up, when you have that internal happiness, that is like a being child again. And being youthful and fit and energetic and not caring about 99% things that truly do not matter. And when you strip all of that, what you find, it's the most amazing, exhilarating essence. And I can see that who is already exhibiting that and who is on their path to get there. And I also can see who is stuck and who just stubbornly wants to stay there. And the best part is we can choose also who we associate with, and with individuals that can help us to preserve that energy and preserve that innocence and that open-mindedness and eagerness and drive and passion just come naturally for things that we really know it's us, versus what we are indoctrinated to think and believe that it's us.
Izabela, what do you do? Let me rephrase that. How do you ensure that you live the most positive day possible? Do you have any rituals in your day?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm waking up early. I am blessed to have this most amazing view of my apartment in my building, this gorgeous state of art, where I have these windows from top to floor, 16 feet ceiling, that really opens the world of this amazing glass wall and seeing the energy of city of downtown. But not only that I wake up every morning with sunrise in my city that I love and means so much to me. And with that sunrise, I start my morning ritual and meditation. And I always wake up happy. How can you not be happy? Because sun is there and then gets on your face and it's just that peacefulness and this positive energy, right?
Oh,
And
I
I
love that.
always and I already always have the moments when I'm like, visualize or affirm what I would like to unfold. And I already have action-packed agenda and I'm already excited to meet and see all these people and then bring in my A game. And I already see how days going to unfold. And 99% is exactly how I seen it. And that beauty is like, I'm excited to get up and I'm excited to get moving and nurture my body and mind. And sometimes I also do a quick meditation that is guided. And regardless, that is kind of that first, few minutes for me. I'm far away from social media, text messages, and everything else. And then, obviously, healthy breakfast to nurture my body and getting ready and go. And then naturally, I have to say I have energy that sustains me throughout the day that I don't necessarily coffee. I'm not necessarily stuck, I need to have this in order to have that. None of that. For me, it's more about, I'm ready, let's roll up and make it happen and then just go at it. And but I also have a ritual throughout the day, and specifically depending on what I need to do, I also have a ritual on the end of the day. And I have to say, a lot of times we forget to celebrate our successes, celebrate our blessings, to celebrate some amazing mementos. What did I learn? What was a aha moment? What did I learn from who I did learn? And then really preserve that. And one thing I start actually doing, and you probably will be laughing, Kim, I read years ago about this little gratitude jar where you put these epiphanies or great moments and create a little sticky slip or whatever and write something down that really was amazingly impactful to you. And then to throw that in that little jar, write it up, and on the end of the year or whenever you feel down, to go back to the jar. And I find that to be little nuggets and treasures that reminds me when things are really rocky, when things really don't go the way, not only I wanted, but really could make a major breakthroughs for so many people, right? And sometimes we don't have controls of those outcomes. To really still say, okay, maybe I'm not seeing the picture yet, but maybe it's a bigger reason behind it, but still to be okay with that. And then go back to something positive and remember moments that, again, puts me back in that state of my internal peace and happiness.
I don't think that is silly at all. And the only reason I would laugh at it is just thinking about a gratitude jar in my house. I can just see what my littles, who are 3-year-old twins and a 4-year-old, they would be in it all the time. However, I've been designing the positive productivity planner for some time, and it does have a space on each daily thread, as well as in the weekly reflection and the monthly reflection, to look back over the month and write down what I'm most grateful for in the day, in the month, in the quarter. And I think it's so important that we do that. And so often I find myself, Izabela, at the end of the day, I'm completely exhausted. I do make a point of writing down my agenda for the next day, but so often I forget to just flip it over and go to that box that says, what am I most grateful for today? Because I don't know. I'm tired, but I think it's so important. You've just given me a little kick in the bum to make sure to flip it over and do that every day.
And definitely that's help us reflect and then also help us to restart for the next day with that same exhilarating joy and happiness to move forward, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder. Listeners, remember what you're grateful every single day. Izabela, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing about your journey and how you are making a greater impact on the world around us. It is so appreciated. Where can listeners connect with you online and get to know more about you?
They can connect through theworldmessenger.com, theworldmessenger.com. I also have a very special for your audience, for anybody who is eager to learn more. I have a free book special You just pay for shipment. If you'd like to, I will gladly sign it and send it to you. And if any of those golden nuggets resonate, you will have more, I guarantee, in that book. But also, I am very much so involved on LinkedIn. So yes, you can connect with me on Facebook and all the other media, but LinkedIn is the one, if you want to make a tremendous strides and impact in your business from a business standpoint, but also connect and align with others that can help you to thrive. That's definitely another avenue that you can find me. And then again, my spelling of my name, it's a little bit unique. So it's Izabela Lundberg, Lundberg, Izabela Lundberg. So you will be able to find me very easily.
Thank you so much. Listeners, if you're driving or at the gym or just completely busy right now, don't burn your dinner. You can find all the URLs on the show notes page at thekimsutton.com/PP274. Thank you again so much, Izabela. Do you have a golden nugget or a parting piece of advice that you can offer to listeners?
Absolutely. One golden nugget that really constantly is helping me out to thrive is the one that to express the love and joy on a daily basis. And share that with the others. Do not fear it. Just be in that loving, beautiful space as much as you can be. It's infectious and it will get you whenever you want it to get.
Have you requested your 7-day free version of the Positive Productivity Planner yet? If not, I want to encourage you to go over to thekimsutton.com/7DP and pick up your copy today. This free version of the planner is going to help get you on track of leading a more positive and productive personal and professional life. Again, you can get your copy at thekimsutton.com/7DP.